Back in Rwanda, sio?
I'm back in Rwanda, yes. Nilirudi, it's been 2 weeks now.
Last time you were caught up by maintenance, sio?
Yes, I had to go to the office on a weekend.
Mm.
And normally for that, you have to even request for out of office hours request, all those kind of things. Anyway, yeah, we
Mm.
finished that. It went successfully. Tumerudi sasa. Let me send you the link. We are live actually as we speak.
Perfect.
We live, we live, we live.
Episode
Let me get that.
77.
Yeah, man. How many more months to the end of the year?
I think it should be 3 months, if I'm not wrong. Here we go.
Sorry, I think that was the echo. It was a sound actually. You are responding twice because I had those two windows open. Of course, the streaming and the YouTube.
Okay, okay.
But we live. How have you been, man? It's been a while.
Ah,
Yeah, last Saturday we couldn't do it. The other Saturday, I think I was in the middle of
you are
travels.
you are en route on transit.
I was en route. Yes, I was actually that time. I mean, I hadn't yet started the travel, but it was the day I was, set to go to the airport.
Mm.
At 4 p.m.
Mm.
I'd gone for that. There was the Jazz Awards happening in South Africa, so I went to go check them out. So I think we couldn't have a live note unless we would have had it maybe a bit earlier.
Mm.
Yeah. Then I left there like at 8, went to the hotel, picked up my luggage, then straight to the airport, and it's like moving for it was quite far. Like I was coming from Thika,
Mm.
coming into Nairobi, then from Nairobi heading to the airport. The airport is also a bit farther off. So yeah, it took me quite a bit. Maybe what time was I getting to the airport? Like at 9? Yeah,
And what
almost
time
an
was the
hour.
flight?
Oh man, the flight was in the morning. It was like at 3 a.m.
And you are getting there at 9.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything else. Where would I have been?
But by the way, in today's uh, air air travel process, the earlier you get there, the better. I remember flying to Tanzania. My flight was to take off at 6, but by 2, I was at JKIA.
Now you are there too early
I was there 4 hours
because you
earlier.
are, yeah, that's too early. That's just too early. Okay, 4 is
Yeah,
not too bad. But I mean, you're going. Tanzania is like a regional flight.
yeah.
Although sometimes you could also find the airport is too busy, so the
And
hours
also,
just go by very very fast.
my
But
concern
either way,
was my concern
mm,
was Mombasa Road can be quite
oh yeah,
unpredictable at times.
the
I just
traffic.
said, hey, listen, uh, there's nothing I'm doing. And I was actually flying from work. I was during it was during night shift. So I left my workplace.
Oh, okay.
I got an Uber, and in fact, I think a week ago there had been a serious jam. There was an accident. There's a bridge there at Tati River. So I said, hey, listen, I can't take any chances. This is somebody who had called me there for some work. So it was the first time I was having an international consultation. I could
Mm,
not afford to put any risk to my reputation. So I just say,
mm.
Luka Sanani got cozy,
Yeah.
cleared.
Anyway, 4 hours is not too bad. I mean, considering you're supposed to arrive there 3 hours before
Mm.
time,
Mm.
3 to 2 hours sometimes. And then also, as you're saying, there's Mombasa Road, JKI can be too busy. Um,
You know,
so
if
for me, the
Wilson
reason why, uh
if Wilson could handle international flights, could be magical. This place is just within town, and it's hassle. I think they could handle if they could handle regional flights in Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. It would be perfect.
I mean, were you coming from Athi River? Which part of town were you coming from?
I was coming from Matiriva.
Okay, that's not too far from JKIA,
Mm.
and normally you're coming from the opposite
Yes.
direction, so traffic normally would not be a factor so much. But you said you had a bridge that collapsed. Maybe that could have
Not collapse. You
exacerbated.
know what happens? You are part of a
Mm.
highway, and on the highway, anything
Ah,
can happen. A broken down truck, an accident, you name it.
right.
It's not
No, no,
really much.
no.
It has nothing to do with the normal traffic.
Okay.
Highway traffic is the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me, it was mostly because, okay, one,
Mm.
what else could I have done? I mean, you've already checked out of the hotel.
You're out of the hotel, so
You're out of the hotel. I checked out in the morning because it was my last day there. So
mm.
um,
And
the
you
only
don't
thing
want
I
to
could
go
do is
places
go
that you
chill.
don't know.
Yes,
Mm.
and then as you stay more, all this manner of factors.
Yes.
But either way, I mean, it was good. There's some bell somewhere. I don't know if it's on my side or your phone.
No, let me just put my phone on silent.
Yeah,
Uh,
it had a very ringing noise because I have headphones. I can almost hear
it's
every bit.
I've put it on silent now.
So anyway, we are here. We are here. We are here. Travels have its own, as you say, the airport experience. We were even talking with someone else, trying to wonder how was travel before 9/11, because all these things were caused by 9/11. Um, but the airport experience definitely is not a very good one. I
Yes.
think also, come to think of it, it seems to be very country specific, and I don't know as Kenya, because we've had too many terrorist um, kind of experience, then the process is a bit more, because like down in SA, it's fairly pleasant, getting in. You don't go through the rigors that you see in Nairobi. In Nairobi, you're like, I'll be checked at the main entrance, then I go to custom, the boarding place. Then after I've been given a boarding ticket, going up again through immigration, I'm checked once again
Again.
before I get to the gates now. So those two levels of check-in, and then you're supposed to, it's like you're fully undressing yourself. Normally, I typically even like going fairly casual.
Yeah.
I'll have open shoes. I'll try to ensure that I've got very much light things that I don't have to remove too much. Just that why check twice? Why check twice? I don't know why it's
Uh,
JKIA
uh,
is actually not quite pleasant, as I can say. It's not so good of an experience.
so,
I think there's a bit of a flaw that we need to work out.
mm. Shout out to Sharif Mustafa for joining us. I remember at JKA, something not really strange, but I just found it to be a bit puzzling. I got cleared very nicely. Then I think I was looking at, there was a place where I was seated. You could actually see the planes from atop. So I got interested and I sort of wandered back. Then they told me, now that you've crossed back, come back, we check you again. Chief, are
And you see,
you?
that's what also something the way we've designed our airport is actually not so good. And it's because we've had these extensions, and it always looks like every time there's some construction going on, like it has never ended. And it's because we don't think long term. I mean, if you go to an airport like or Tambo in South Africa, it's a huge airport. I mean, there's a point when I entered and trying to navigate where I'll be boarded, where the airlines are, and then eventually get to the gates. I can actually exit into a parking garage.
JK is a different story.
JK is it's a mess. It's like you're locked in. So there are points where you can actually exit, as you're saying. For you, they had to make you go through.
Yes, because I
the
just got
process again.
interested and I wondered where I was looking at that plane. I think it was some Boeing, and it was very early. It was around 4. Okay, just out of the pilots were inside. I could see the pilots from the cockpit. So just out of my interest for technology, trying to see what they are doing, say, okay, let me change my angle so I can see better. Then I called, boss, yeah, umevuka sasa rudi hivi tena. I'm like, ah. So it's like this is the problem of operating on a copy paste mode. As in, these things, it happened in, it's a 9/11 issue. Then, because it affected the US, we got roped into this thing that you have to go through this procedure. Okay, so, but why don't you tailor make the procedure such that your airport operations are tampered to the least minimum? It was like what Mzungu said, it is followed to the letter. Like the guys who cleared, they saw me just sort of wandering off. Then when I knew that I have to go through it again, probably because procedure inasema mtu akivuka, I have to go through this. This is the problem of not having tailor-made systems. It's like
No,
you
I
are told,
agree.
you are told,
And
yes,
we
continue.
probably overthink it so much. I mean, the other thing is, like, take an SGR. The SGR process where you've got bags, you've got dogs. I mean, the SGR stations are a marvel. The way they design those things are nice. But I tell you, the getting in process, I think this whole terrorist thing changed us so much. Even in the US, it's not that crazy. I mean, if you go to a place like South Africa, you don't see this level of like getting into a mall. Just get in, boom.
Let me
You
ask you
don't.
something.
There's no police ati hii unaangaliwa unatoa simu na afu you go through that metal detect akuna. But us, we've now just taken that thing and taken it overboard.
Let me ask you something.
And even we haven't reorganized it in a more pleasant and friendlier way. Somebody should need to really think through some of these processes that we have. As you're saying, is a copy and paste process. Even the way we are implementing it, it's got so many loopholes because there's a way to navigate around it if you want to. And then to make matters worse, it just creates such friction when you think of entering. Of course, mentally Kenyans, because if that's all we know, now we never think about it. But when we go to other places and then just realize how things are so smooth, I just get in, get out. I don't have to think. But we've put all these gates and all these security checks. It's a mess.
Karibu sana Robert SDC. And what I found it a bit strange is, there's a train going from you have a train to Nairobi Kisumu that operates at the Nairobi Central Station. Do they go through those procedures? I've used the commuter train, which carries a lot of people. Nothing. When we bought
No,
the
the
train,
commuter train is actually fairly easy, actually, I must
no.
say. But SGR, I
So
don't know why they have to think of
and
this.
what is this? Because the
This
difference between
process.
SGR and this one, the difference between the SGR and this one is simply the width of the distance between the two lines. This one is 1 meter, this is 1.54. But the procedure is crazy. Why all this? The Nairobi Central Station, when you are boarding the commuter, I think there's only one guy with ile wand tu hiyo peke yake. And if you happen to have there's a time I was traveling, now moving from Nairobi to Athi River, and I'd come from Busia, so I had some bit of extra baggage. They just asked, "Ni nini iko ndani?" Food stuff. So I just had to unzip the bag kidogo, just took a peep, say, "Ma, nenda." But when you get to SCR, because I know it is associated with Chinese and whatnot, the process is crazy. And when I'm boarding from Athi River train, there's no one to check you. Oh yeah, there is a ile kuangaliwa tu the wand too. If you have to be having a like I was this time I was taking my laptop for some work, I unzipped it, they checked inside, sawa, endelea. End of story. But because something is associated with people from another race, now we have a problem. Now we have an issue.
No, I don't
And
even think it's an issue of the Chinese. It's not the Chinese. It can be any other person who would have done that SDR. It's just that somebody thought, oh, let's apply some security measures. Put in bags, dogs. Even the whole process looks terrible. Just that whole channel from where you park the car, you get out, then put your bags and whatever. It's so terrible before you get into this magnificent train station. Because the train station is a marvel. It's a really beautiful building. And we just need to make, even if, yeah, I think we are very lazy in thinking, because somebody just decided, oh, kumbuka kuna terrorist, apply the process for terrorists, and then you apply it so badly. Yeah,
But
let's
then
agree
again,
that could be a
how
challenge in our context. And if you want to also apply some, but we've never had issues. I mean, the train station has never had a problem per se with that. But that doesn't mean, yes, we don't, it could become a security risk. But they just need to be, it just needs to be organized in a better way, that it doesn't look so kienyeji style, so intrusive, so disorganized, because that's also how first it looks. It's very disorganized.
how
It's very
come
disorganized.
how come they don't do that to the Nairobi Kisumu train?
I think it was, as you say, part of it being a new thing, and then
Because if you are concerned about terrorism, then you
yeah,
should
they
be
should apply it across the board.
should have applied everywhere. How come the Nairobi Central Station there are no such? In fact, Nairobi Central Station platform 1 is next to the entry. In fact, when you stand on platform on the main entrance to the train to the station, you can see platform 1, because I think there are 3 platforms. One you access when you're entering, the other you have to go downstairs, then up, then you climb up to come here. So how come hakuna hii? So this terrorist check, is it an agenda driven thing? Because it's only applying on the Nairobi Mombasa SGR. The Nairobi Kisumu hakuna. The
And what
commuter
agenda are they trying to fulfill? Of course, maybe, 9/11 introduced all these security issues. So, of course, one of the agenda was to prop up these security companies. You have to think of it from an agenda perspective. So there was somebody gaining, who is the security company, the people who build those metal detectors and all those kind of mechanism. And even if that's the case,
because Nairobi Kisumu is iko hivyo hivyo, the commuter hivyo hivyo. Kenya Ferry, where it is very crowded, just another chaotic. How come you're only seeing these so-called terrorists, anti-terrorist activities being concentrated to only one institution? Agenda.
it's our lack of creativity. I think much of it. I think at a very basic level, even before you think agenda, it's very it's as you say, I think our copy and paste mechanism, copy paste, because
Copy paste.
for me, even if they are to apply those security measures, I think they need to. I think we need to think through things and not just apply them for the sake of to make plaster security. Boom. And it's not that we don't have thinkers. We have thinkers in this country. If somebody was to say, and except just decide to champion this whole process, we want to make the experience for our customers who come in to check up either SGR or who come to the airport, we want to make it pleasant. So that should be the number one guiding principle. It needs to be pleasant. And then two, it also needs to be security conscious. So how can we fulfill these two goals without compromising one or the other? How do you ensure that there's a good flow, signage iko mzuri, people are being processed very well, you know. So if I'm sure if they put the minds and the brains behind this, they can create those processes. Like those, I mean, I'm sure the way the likes of Safaricom and any other private sector that thinks deeply about user experience, customer experience, if they can apply the same thinking to our public sector, at least some of the public sector experiences. And I can see to some degree there are places where they try to think through some of those. I mean, when you go to an Uduma center, you can see there was a bit of, you know, customer experience trying to be crafted. Not as good, but at least I can give them some marks for attempting. Because my last Uduma experience was pleasant. I mean, I'm sure there are few complaints people can put up, but either way, there's some thinking and some effort that was applied towards trying to improve the experience. And that's, I think, would be the message that I would pass on to somebody who is at the Kenya Airports Authority, somebody who is at least SGR. Just improve the experience. I guess maybe the commuter train, maybe they might not be so sensitive because people don't have luggage. And I guess that's the thinking they tried to apply. I think they tried to apply the airport experience with SGR. But airport experience has got another caveat added to it because you're talking of not just traveling within Kenya, but internationally. So you're talking of people who are utilizing that are foreigners and Kenyans. So one, if I was at Kenya airports, I'm thinking two, I want to make the experience good and I still want to enforce security. And then I have another goal. Put a good image of Kenya to anyone who is either passing through or who is traveling into the country or out of the country as a foreigner. So all those things, if I lay out my goals, I can then now map out how I'm going to achieve those goals. And I think I'm just trying to share it from my basic experience. Maybe I'm just
Now, the thing is this: these so-called security measures, do they lean more towards foreigners or what?
I don't understand. So
Because if it is
mhm,
security,
mhm,
why should we also not see such kind of stuff at Nairobi country bus stage? Let me give you a picture. I'm sending you a
mm,
picture of a bus terminal in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, to be precise.
mhm, mhm.
Just can just share it here so that we get a picture. Because I'm getting a sense that these enhanced travel security systems lean towards systems that serve foreigners sana sana. But when it comes to local travel, ni wewe abiria chunga mzigo. So I think
Exactly.
that is a picture of uh, the bus terminus in in Dar es Salaam.
Wow, this is nice, bro.
You can just share it. Share it, please.
I don't know. You should be seeing it now.
Yeah, this is a bus terminus in Tanzania, purely
Is it
built
both?
to,
Is it only for bus and
for
it's
buses
train or
only.
just bus?
No, 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 buses only. This is for buses only. I've sent you a
Because
second one.
TZ has BRT.
I know, but this is for long distance buses. I've sent you a second one with the
Oh, this
pics
is
with the
long
buses on
distance.
the other end. Just see this for the buses on the other end. Tells you now how come these so-called enhanced travel, what they call it, travel experiences lean towards any system that has foreigners in. Lakini ikija kwa Mkenya wa kawaida, my friend, abiria chunga mzigo wako mwenyewe. So I think you can share the second one where the buses are parked.
Mm. Is this the same bus
Yeah, the
station on a
same place.
different
Now
angle?
on the other wing where the buses are parked.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. Now there's no issue for this is just something you do for your citizens. That begs the question: how come these so-called enhanced or pleasurable or high-end travel experiences have an element of foreigners involved? Do we have any system that is built to serve the local Mwananchi that works very well, that looks impressive? Can you compare
Nile,
JKIA with Wilson? Kwa ndani?
it's yeah, it's what we talk of the dignity that or the standards we desire for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing here that is impossible to us.
Hmm.
But the minute, as we say, we begin to love ourselves,
Yes.
then we are gonna be able to apply
Hmm.
those standards to benefit us first and foremost.
Yes.
We love ourselves and other people love us. But if we hate ourselves, other people still also hold us with the same level of contempt
Yeah.
and mediocrity that we espouse in many other things. So it's just having that dignity, loving ourselves, making sure that we can apply. I think Magufuli seems to have left, even for the short time he was a president. He left a long-standing legacy for Tanzania. He elevated them. I mean, you can see now they have electric train. I would want to experience how the process for Tanzania is. Now, I agree. Every place has got its own context, and certain context inform certain behavioral practices. The level of, let's say, you're going into a Kenyan mall is very different from when you visit probably a South African mall where they don't have those, heightened security measures when you're either going in and the like. So those contextual elements, because in Kenya we've had, those terrorists, uh, uh, you know, effects that have happened. So that has informed, us taking different steps to counter that. But what we've not done so well is think through processes. And I know they are good. You are a process engineer of sorts. Are you one or not?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think applying, people of your kind in terms of process experience, because now experience is everywhere. If you're having a company of any sort that is looking to have an enhanced customer experience, you always have to think of the customer journey that you take through your customer. From the point that once you identify the points of contact that your customer is interacting with you, then you always think through what experience I want them to have at the end of it all.
Like you ask,
from the beginning
would I want to go
throughout
through
the
this
process
situation?
till the end. Yeah,
You'd ask yourself, would I want to go through this process myself?
hundred
That's a question
percent,
you want to ask yourself.
100%,
Hmm.
100%. Once we start with those kind of questions, one, we want to ensure that there's dignity for our people. Two, we want to ensure that they have a very good experience, leave a good impression from the point they interact with you throughout the process when they are being serviced by your people till the end when they either end a transaction or something. And
And also
then
what
I
we call
still also want to ensure that all these contextual element of security checks are still fulfilled. They can still be fulfilled and they can still have a good experience. Those two goals are not exclusive. You can have both.
is also what you call coming up with tailor-made solutions. Like understand what you are facing, then come tell. Because I find it very strange that you are traveling in Kenya and then there's a dog coming to sniff you. Kwani hiyo gari ya moshi inabeba cocaine? Because I associate dog cocaine and bombs and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
So that that's
if you are
they're looking
sniffing
into
for
your luggage.
because if you are if there's aspect of sniffing for cocaine, drugs and explosives within traveling within your country, then there's a problem with the entire security system. If it is international, so but within your country, you are sniffing for whatever it is you are sniffing. No, within that tells you that we have a problem. Is it the intelligence or because who can be doing that? What are the probabilities? Because that means
And I mean, let's agree, Brian. It's okay. There can be that because people do use those venues. I mean, it's not that cocaine and drugs are being peddled both within the country. There are customers who buy those things to consume, and also there are those that channel through Kenya for an international market. So all that is possible. For me, I'm not even questioning the need for drugs. Even if I look at my experience, like here in Kigali at the airport, because they also have a dog sniffing, but there's a way they have organized it. It doesn't seem so intrusive. So what happens is when you're driving in, there's the first check you go through, and that's where there's a dog sniffing bit. So mnaingia na gari, mtaambiwa mtoke. Maybe like where we have those big gates in JKIA. Even the one for JKIA, I don't know, they added those and they just ended up messing the whole thing. Again, because we don't think through. And I guess as you say, we don't tailor make. If we have some contextual challenges in country, in Kenya, that are specific to Kenya, yes, we can develop something unique to us. But I think we just need to identify the challenge. One, make it a bit smooth, make sure the experience is not too, disorganized and all that. So identify all the bad experiences and how you can overcome them while still enforcing all the things that you want to enforce. So even if there's a cocaine and all these things you want to check, you can still fulfill all that, but you can still be able to overcome these bad experiences. So that's what I'm from my perspective, that's what I'm trying to push at. Identify the bad experience, how you can counter it while still enforcing, some of the things that either you're legally supposed to enforce or something that you feel needs to be enforced. All that. Yeah. So we've just not thought through intelligently the way we were looking at I'll give this example of the way we saw how like Netherlands handles their garbage. They have dug up a hole over and above having something above ground for garbage, which then helps to counter the aspect of overflow. So they saw a problem that they had in Netherlands and devised a solution for people of the Dutch. So it's for us to identify a problem and devise a solution for Kenya and for Kenyans. That possibly, like that issue of the Dutch, now somebody somewhere can decide, oh, let's employ a similar thing. Like I would imagine people in New York should be thinking of how they can have a similar solution, because a place like New York, you have people, just put in garbage bags out on the streets, and it takes a while before the truck comes in to process them. So that has, brought out the aspect of, rats and rodents. So if they can adopt, maybe they even had a worse problem than people in Netherlands, but the Netherlands problem. So yeah, it's just the creativity to come up with unique solutions that serve our
So
needs.
let me take the opportunity to welcome DJ Kegap. He's a very good mixer, but not mixer of alcohol drinks, but mix of music. I enjoy listening to his mixes. Very talented gentleman. I know there are people when they hear the word mixer, the throat becomes dry automatically. So he's na mix ngoma, si kamnyweso.
Sika
So
miezo.
no, no, Sika. I don't know. Maybe he does Kamingweso by the side, but he's a
Mm,
very good DJ. He features in the spaces for. He runs the Mnyamwezi overnight. Once
mm,
Mnyamwezi has started snoring, DJ
mm,
Kega comes in and he keeps us running. In fact, if you are to wake up in the middle of the night and you just log into Mnyamwezi spaces, you'll hear DJ Kegap doing his stuff. Highly talented gentleman. Karibu
mm,
sana to the Free Flow Saturday, where two seemingly crazy people rambling ideas here and there. Just we are not claiming expertise. We are not an institution. We are just free thinkers. We believe in
mm,
logic. Now, the for the week, wiki yote been the Adani saga,
mm,
KQ. The issue is this:
mhm.
before this government came into play, was there a crisis at JKI, not KQ, sorry, JKI? Was there a crisis at JKI, a management crisis at JKI before the government came in?
I don't think so. I mean, the only issues that people had were those, leakage issues on the roof. Uh, mm,
Leakage peke yake.
mm. Yeah, I don't think there is. Of course, we were just talking about the experience and all that, but overall, I don't think. And even some of those things are not completely unique to JKIA. I think many airports do have a bit of those experiential issues, but there are some that are, I think, are easy to fix for Kenyans. We could easily resolve some of them. Yeah, yeah. But yes,
Because you
I
want to
don't
ask
think I
yourself,
heard of. I don't think I heard of any.
because you have to ask yourself, what are you solving? I recall there was this time, there's this, I think this aircraft, not Northrop Grumman, the one that is flown by Kenya Air Force. It's a
Mhm,
cheap military plane, low priced, but works very well. For a plane of its category, it works fantastically well. Then those guys at Northrop tried to make an improvement of it, say can do this and and the whole thing flopped. Why? Because potential customers said,
mhm.
mbona mmetengeneza hii ingine? This one is working very well. I think I forget its name. They asked them, why did you build that one? Because what we have, because we are operating on a small budget, this is doing very well. So what improvements are you
Mm.
doing there? Are you going to make us pay more money for a problem that doesn't exist? Have we reported to you that hii ingine inatusumbua? So with the Adani thing, the question that you have to
So,
ask is, what
mhm.
are you solving at JKIA? If you can just list out point by
Yeah,
point, your
I
camera has
think they
gone a
were
bit blurred.
talking of. Okay, maybe is it better now? I've not done
Yeah,
anything.
hapo
Might be
sawa,
the
hapo
internet.
sawa. Very okay.
So I think what they were looking at, from what I haven't read the story, but all I'm getting from this debate or conversations around it. So JKIA, I think one, it's not a management issue. It's looking one to expand as a regional hub. I think in some sense it has burst out its resources or seams. That's why you have those tented entry points. But I even think sometimes, even despite the size, again, it's just organization. I can tell you that for a fact. For the size of airport like what Rwanda has and how organized they are, they're just efficient in how they utilize the resources that they have at their disposal. So yes, there's a need to expand. There's a need to improve the experience. I think that's why they're also looking at a management element. But I think part of the management could be a bit on the buy, operate before you. What it's called, buy, or rather build, operate, and then what is the other one? Manage.
Like
I
they
think
did
operate is
with the with the
with the
Nyali Bridge,
expressway
where Nyali
or even the
Bridge, where
express.
they
Yeah.
built the bridge, they put on
Mhm,
toll station, they
mhm.
collected their money. Once the bill was cleared, they left. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, I think that's how they're structuring this deal. I think they were looking to build an additional terminal, um, and all this. For me, I think the way they should think about it, I would pick the model that Rwanda has done. Just build a whole new airport. And I think also Ghana did the same. They built out an entire airport. And if you look at the size of Ghana airport, it's very small, but again, well organized. So it's not so much the size of it, it's how you've organized it.
My
The Kenyan airport is a bit of a sprawl, because sometimes you're in a terminal that is on the other side, and then they are not well connected. Not like if you go to a place like Atlanta, where you take a train from one terminal to another, so everything is seamless.
in fact,
So
when I used JKA for the first time,
mhm,
we actually boarded a bus. We
mhm,
boarded a bus from our
mhm.
gate to a plane which was parked uh, far
you
off in the
see,
field.
this is the other thing around this.
Mm.
This bus thing of being transported from one end, it's terrible. You
So
should
we
have
bought.
gates, and
Mm.
the gates should have those movable tunnels where you get in straight into your plane. It
That
should
one
be
we
like that.
experienced it in Tanzania Julius Nyerere Airport, where when the plane landed, they extended that tunnel, and we got out. For
I mean, it's
KQ,
there. KQ is there. It does it, but I think there are few bays that
there are
handle
few
that.
because even both times when I landed back, same still we disembarked from the
The plane
plane,
into a
went to the
bus.
bus, and did this. Okay, but my issue is this:
Mm.
I think we now have over, I think now 61 years of education, degrees, PhD, nini, masomo ya kila aina. You mean hakuna mtu within our national circles who can do this job? Hiyo ndo kidogo inanitatiza.
National
The,
circles to do a job like what? The expansion of
the
the
expansion or
terminal.
whatever we are doing, yeah. We have a lot
I
of
think we
professionals.
have the capacity. I don't think we don't have the capacity. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm not entirely opposed to the Adani deal. So I think number one, there are a few issues that Kenya is going through. So two, everything is politicized. Number one, everything is politicized in Kenya. Then two, you have a very highly informed society. And then three, our level of trust. We have a huge trust deficit when it comes to trust amongst ourselves, trust with the government. So everything the government does is always held with a level of suspicion. It might actually sometimes be good, but it's just that the precedent that the government has had has not been well, has not been good, and I guess that is what has aroused a lot of this mistrust. So coming out of that, probably the government needs to be a lot smarter in terms how it is engaging with this highly informed society. We are in the digital age, so it's not, you can't hide things as you used to do
And like
before.
reputation of the company
So
formed in other places.
yes,
You
people
know, they
can
go
quickly
shoot out
Google
of
and find
Australia.
Adani past experiences, how has it been, and the like. So with that, maybe you can be a little more prudent in terms of how you share information, how you're open with your citizens, how you engage them. I mean, they talk of all this public participation, but I don't think the public participation, one, is done as it should, and two, if any of those ideas that are picked from the public are incorporated or just done as a formality. So that's what I would say. And then three, having the reason why I'm saying I'm not entirely opposed to an Adani option. If even if you look at an example of a Kigali, they're doing a whole new airport. And for them to do that airport, they have had to engage external partners because some of these projects, the capital
The
outlay that you
complexity.
have to, the complexity, the capital, because yes, you need somebody who has sort of a history. It's not just getting any developer out there in Kenya, but they have never probably built an
Somebody with a
actual
track
airport.
record. You did a track record.
Yes. So it's not just because you know how to put one or two bricks together that you can do that project. So it's not any developer. So it has to be a developer with sort of a background in building and developing and managing airports that you take them. And then two, the capital involved in it. So maybe we don't have, if a lot of the revenue we are generating, a big chunk of it is going to repaying loans, probably the most smarter approach is you get a private investor, do some kind of a PPP, public private partnerships. So if you do these things in an intelligent way, then you can be able to achieve what you still want to achieve. So for me, it's just that whole element which has complicated the affair because one, either citizens were not well informed, you probably tried to conduct it in some level of secrecy. There's again those some of those selfish elements involved with greed, people trying to be brokers and trying to use this to enrich themselves, all these things, and then the mistrust, all these things have played into now what we are seeing out there. So yeah, Ethiopia is also building a new airport just as Rwanda. Yes, and I tell you, I was at Addis. Man, it's a busy airport. But I can tell you, they have a very fast process of moving you, particularly when you're transiting. You need to be moved very fast. There's a way they're doing it so fast. You still fulfill those security requirements, but you do it in a very fast and efficient way. So for Kenya, we've not learned how to do that fast. I don't know how when I've never transited through KQ. I'm normally the coming in, but I would want to see if I'm transiting. How is that experience? And particularly, I think the Ethiopian airport is now probably the second or third busiest in Africa. Kenya Airways, I think we are number 6 or 5, one of those. Again, the likes of Rwanda are coming up. If the minute Bugesera Airport comes online, they're going to steal a lot of our customers. I mean, just this past week, when this Adani issue was happening and the KAA guys had striked, our people were given notice, told, avoid the Nairobi airport. So if you're looking, to go anywhere, you would end up being channeled through an Addis or somewhere else. That means we are losing. We are
I
losing.
think I think there's what you call this. They say chickens coming home to roost. We are looking at a situation whereby in all these scandals we've had, no one has ever been sent to prison. Now, when you have decades and decades of people in prominent positions, engaging in this furniture in all manner of shenanigans. They are not being, they are not taken, they're not put to account. It comes back to bite us. Something as okay, okay, you cannot compare expanding an airport to sending a rocket to space. Sending a rocket compared to a building to expand is like just elementary stuff. So I can say if something as elementary as expanding an airport imetuletea shida, look back to where we've come from. Because if someone builds anything and it collapses or it crumbles, they should end up in prison concerning the amount of money, amount of taxpayers' money expended on that has never happened. It has become so kawaida to a point where now if you want to build, hebu tuangalie nje, juu nyumbani kumeoza sana. So why don't you handle the road? This is simply a symptom of something bigger. Because yes, if we give it to a local guy, they'll cut corners and whatnot. But even if they cut corners, siwape wafungwe. But since the person is related to so and so, who is a cousin and so, they went to school, this one, they were doing ABCD, they have some. So it in end a combo, it goes, it crumbles. Now you are first to look outside, not because you lack the expertise, you lack the proper attitude. And attitude is formed by taking accountability and taking the necessary punishments for mistakes done, mistakes or errors or whatever you do. Yeah, so the fact that we have accumulated this issue of is senior people or prominent members not taking responsibility, it is now forcing us to look outside. And I find it quite shameful. So when you talk of the cost of corruption, happened to Tumefika.
It's true.
This is where it has
It's
gone
true.
because that is the genesis. The genesis, you are afraid that if you give to a local person, they'll mess up. And then that is not to add insult to injury. If they mess up, nothing is going to happen to them. But
And I mean, even if we were not to look outside, let's say maybe many of our construction companies don't have the expertise.
but they can
I
hire.
think we can still negotiate better, even if we are bringing an international guy in. So number one, pair them with a local contractor so that it benefits more. There's that knowledge share.
A subcontract will do it.
Negotiate the deal such that we are not losing. I just don't understand. Anyway,
Because
you know, when you think so deeper about these things, you hit that wall.
Employee.
Yes,
He's coming as a subcontract. He's an employee of the main guy who now you're saying that he has the interest of the nation at heart. You're operating under him. But it has become so horrible that you have to take the whole thing if you're na mtu wa nje. Why? Because somebody from inside will do their shenanigans. They'll collaborate with the insiders. It will go wrong. And then what makes it even worse is that no action will be taken against them. That is the problem. Because if maybe one or two, there's a contractor who's now serving a 20-year jail sentence, and it's not normally not the contractor only, contractor with someone in government who are now serving 30 or 20-year jail terms for doing ABCD. Everyone will be on their toes. And soon, people will be able to tell you directly, listen, I'm vying for this contract, but on the fact in terms of certain aspects of this, certain skill sets will have to be brought in to assist us, and there'll be aspect of passing of knowledge. But if you find that you now have to look fully outside because you are scared that your own people will mess you up, that tells you that you have a very big problem. And the problem is in the system that does when somebody does something, huyu ni mkubwa, hiyo kesi itaenda kombo.
But you know, we've had also a history of using local guys.
Yes.
You talk of like roads. Kirinyaga construction used to be big. I think used to take up quite a lot of projects. But then again, it used to be the shoddy work they would do. So I mean, there is a combination of.
Were they penalized for the shoddy work?
I don't know, man.
No, the problem is not the contractor doing shoddy work. Problem is contractor doing shoddy work and not being penalized. See, the human being operates under accountability, accountability and self-regulation. When you remove these two concepts, you almost become subhuman because that is your definition. That's why when let's say you are going somewhere, you're not going to jump over somebody's wall upite because hiyo itakupatia shortcut. You will follow the road because you are self-regulating. And you are following the road. There's no police officer following behind you with a gun to watch over you. The only thing that happens is in wale prisoners who are no longer part of the society. But you, somebody who walks freely in the society, you have what we call the aspect of self-regulation. But now, if you take this self-regulation a notch higher to hizi kazi, it is lacking to a point where you fear, nikipeana hawa jamaa hapo utapata airport imetengenezwa na udongo hapa, mwanze kushangaa hii ni nini sasa, na itatengenezwa na udongo and nobody will land in prison. Like the leakages, when it leaks, mwenye kujenga, have they been brought to book? I'm not a civil
That was a
engineer.
Chinese
Was he
contractor.
brought to book? Because I believe he was paid in full. There's a contract, because if you build something and it leaks, you need to come forward. Hey, there's a problem. You have to take responsibility and do the repairs for free. So this system of not taking accountability, not people facing consequences of their shenanigans, has come back to bite us.
100%.
It's like now where your house lacks so much responsibility that you have to get every day, kama hata ni kupika lunch, you have to get outside catering because your wife will cook shit. Because in this day and age, we should not have problems building airports. Because there's somebody somewhere is sending rockets to space. There's somebody somewhere is thinking of building a train, it ends at 600 kilometers per hour.
But is the question really about getting local support, or is it?
No, the question is just attitude. The attitude is wrong. The attitude is that if hii kitu nikikosea, no one will hold me accountable. It's a very basic thing. It's a very, very basic. If I go wrong, no one will ask me anything. There'll be some noises hapa na pale. You'll see on TV you'll see somebody being put handcuffs on TV. Then utakutana tu barabarani akiishi tu vizuri. Now it has come back to bite us. You see, as long as there is, you know very well you will be held accountable. You'll be held accountable. Kuna vitu utafanya. But if you know very well that you can sort of maneuver around the system, weka gari neutral iteremke. So we are now paying this price. It's a very heavy price. It's a very simple, because the human being operates on self-regulation and accountability.
But how do you enforce self-regulation? I don't think we are good in self-regulating ourselves. And I'm not talking about Kenyans. I'm talking about as human beings in general.
Yeah, no, the self-regulation. Self-regulation is programmed through what we call deterrent activities. In that you saw someone being whipped into shape for doing ABCD. There's a culture of whipping people who mess up. Then the self-regulation comes into play. Like you know very well, you're living in a block, and you saw two neighbors being ejected because of playing loud music. Okay, somehow volume inaweza panda 1 2, your guitar unaambia punguza sauti, you don't listen, unaongeza. Then the next day you see a very huge lorry with vitu vinapangiwa, unaambia huyu ni yule jirani alikuwa anapiga muziki ya juu, wakamuona kakata. Now you know in this place you mess up with the state of peace, you are out. Now it tells you whenever you play your music, remote iko mkononi. You mess up, one warning, and next you're gone. Now that is at elementary level. Take it to national level. Now this is the price you're paying. It's so steep that now you now have to look outside. All it needs is to just punish some prominent people, because contractors don't do this mess on their own. They have to work with insiders. collect them together and throw them in, lock them away for years, decades. Now the next time a contractor is told, we sasa sufanye hivyo, kuna a friend of mine anakula maharagwe miaka 30. I'd rather drop this contract. So the programming is off. And this Adani thing is just a very small symptom. It's a very small symptom of an underlying thing. I'm very sure if the people are
100%.
complaining, if they got a chance, ni vituko tu kama kawaida. So once self-regulation is not programmed sufficiently, these problems will be part of us. 1 hour. Kamau wa Mundu, karibu sana. Umeingia kuchelewa, utapata supu na a few bones, but we are glad to see you at the party. It's normally between 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, but I'm glad to have you here. And 1 hour of unrehearsed content. Maybe I can shout out to Robert SFDC for being with us, Sharif Mustafa. We had someone else, DJ Kegap,
Oscar.
the
There's
mixer
Oscar
of music.
There's somebody called
Oscar was here pia, tunasema asante sana.
Situma. Yeah.
Oscar Situma, thank you very much. Unless my co-host has something to say, can I say adios from Atiriva? Adios.
Adios from Kigali, Rwanda. See ya on the next one.